Say, bruh, it's the podcast.
What's up? It's Hotboy Troy. I got Cuddie and I got Jazz in the building. And this is our first episode of the Say Bruh podcast.
Hey,
Speaking of Say Bruh, I was at a restaurant today, enjoying a good sandwich. And I see this white woman, no disrespect to white people. But
that's how we gonna start this.
that's how we gonna start it.
That makes no sense.
I wanted to know if it was just a white person thing, but we was eating from one spot, and she brought in food from another restaurant, and she just was grubbing down. Like, I've never seen.
You just felt like black people can't get away with that, or
black people definitely can't get away with that. So that's why I was like, is this a white person thing?
no,
It's not. I've seen a whole bunch of other
that's not why
people who
Mexicans
do that.
be doing that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't get none.
I don't know. I just felt like that's a white people thing. So I was just like,
Nah.
say, bro, that caught my attention.
That's how you wanted to start this.
Hey, you might as well go for it. Hey, but this is our first podcast, our introduction stage, and
Yeah. This is the first episode, and we've been wanting to do this for a while. So let's get the ball rolling.
How did this podcast even start up? Like, just in general, a little backstory.
I mean, it started off of all these random group messages,
Group text amongst friends.
Well, yeah, I mean group messages because they go from Instagram
To Snapchat,
text, to
to-
Snap, and it's just a bunch of fun.
5 different conversations going on at once.
Yeah,
So that was the idea behind this podcast.
yeah, I think that and the fact that we all listen to different podcasts and we felt like our podcast, like our conversations were a little entertaining, so we could.
Why not to bring it to the listeners, the followers? The
I mean,
supporters?
honestly, like more for us. Like myself is like, I want to listen to our shit again, and because it's
we do
cool.
have
But
some fun
if
stories.
I could, if it entertains me, I'm sure someone else will get a kick out of it.
I agree with you. So, one, how did we come up with the name?
Oh, the name.
Two, how did we come up with the whole setup?
I feel like the name came natural. If for all y'all that know Troy, first off, I mean this guy's from New Orleans, so he has his little slang, his little
I'd be all over the place.
his lingo. So it's either just the way he pronounces things or the way like his little catchphrases, and all the time he'll be like, "Say bruh." Before he starts something, he'll be like, "Say bruh, did you know that?" Blah blah blah.
I be trying to get their attention. That's all.
Yeah,
And
so
what's funny is that everybody started saying it afterwards.
Say, bruh.
Like, because we heard you say it so often, we started saying it and we're just like, what the hell?
So, yeah,
I've never said this before.
So the name just came off of that. We were in a group text, and we were joking about him like, "Yo, Troy's podcast title, Say Bruh."
So he comes to me. He's like, "It's gonna be the Say Bruh podcast." And then next thing you know, Cuddie being a graphic designer, he flipped the logo, and I'm like, "Bruh,
I sent
slow down." And
sent
then
it to the group text, and it was just funny.
the crazy thing is that actually motivated me. I was like, "All right, you did that. Let's buy some mics." And then what we did, we took to Amazon, and I was like, "I'll buy one, you buy one." And basically, we got 4 mics.
Well, yeah, we got the 2 mics at first from Amazon. I don't know. I had to like. I mean, it's Amazon, and you get what you pay for. So we had we ain't about to say the price, but I mean, it was a small.
Let's just say at first I wasn't convinced.
This guy wasn't convinced. He didn't trust the process. So we went off on Amazon, ordered the mics. Once we plugged them in, they weren't working as well. But I think it was just the adapter, right? For now that we tried
Your adapter was basically
they sent me a janky one, a corrupted one. So from there, like we just figured, okay, the mics ain't working, so let's hit up Guitar Center and really invest in some mics. So
next thing you know, I wasn't into it.
You weren't ready.
Dorian was like, I'm giving you a government name. It's all good. Cuddie was like, "Yo, I'm buying this mic today," and I was like, "See the way my budget's set up, I can't do that right now." Little did I know the next day I would buy
He
basically
did,
a $200 mic.
See it on Snapchat, like
Impulse
invest in
buying.
yourself.
Impulse buying.
No, but yeah, but that kind of turned it up, and we came, set up the mic. Took us a while to figure out the how to set up both of the microphones.
Because we didn't have an engineer, we were struggling. Like
Yo,
literally,
shout out YouTube.
We
YouTube
must have
made it
watched
happen.
like 20 videos on YouTube trying to figure out how to start recording with three,
two
4
microphones.
mics.
With 2 mics, but I mean, it'll be easier. We had like the little plugins or whatever, but these microphones are USB connected, so it was a little difficult, but we got it going. And while we did that, once we figured it out, what was it, like 3 days ago?
Yep.
We were like, oh shoot, we got the 2 mics. Let's try the third one, and we tried it. We tried the Amazon mic, and it worked perfectly. So that's when we found out it was just my adapter that wasn't working.
Looking like a bunch of kids all happy, like it's Christmas Eve, and we about to open some gifts.
Yeah.
So Jazz, tell me what made you want to be on the podcast? Even though, granted, we gonna have a few.
I don't
guests.
think she.
She had an option, right?
She didn't have an option. That's
She was
what
just like, hey,
we
you
just
go on
said,
the
yo,
podcast.
we're gonna need a woman's perspective. Blah.
Yeah.
And we had her in mind, and Maddie, Belendo, and just any female friend that we had, and she popped up. But
Yeah, so
sorry,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
with that, like I was all about it after you guys. I think the first time I heard about it was from Dorian, and Dorian was always like, "Man, like I've always wanted to like start a podcast."
So he sold you the
And-
vision.
Yeah. And I was like, "Dude, do it," because our conversations are super funny. Like I still laugh at whether it's in person or over the text, and I was just like, "Yeah, I want to be a part of this. I want to see this 5 years from now and watch us talking all about what goes on in our life right now, and see what it's like later." And so when you guys were actually buying the mics, I was super stoked. I was like, all
Yeah,
right,
like, these
let's-
guys ain't
That's
playing.
when it was like, oh
Yeah.
snap, it's getting real.
Yeah, 'cause
I
we-
was hoping you guys would actually like commit. I was like, come on, like you have the want, just do it. And
No, yeah, because we've been talking about it for a while already. But at first it was just a joke, like, because, I mean, I never wanted to be behind no microphone or the camera. It's just, like, I'm an artist, so I mostly behind the scenes. Even if I'm taking photos or whatever, I'm behind the lens. So I'm not really, like, a face or nothing.
Hey, I know how you feel, brother.
Why? Why?
Just a disclaimer. I know how you feel. Always
Yeah.
behind,
I feel you.
you know.
So, I mean, we know you've been motivated about the podcast, so I'm not even trying to ask you that. So, how
Go
about
for it. Everybody
No,
wanna
no,
know
no.
though.
Or yeah, well, you could answer that.
I
then.
mean, you know, we became huge fans of the Breakfast Club and
yeah.
other podcasts that's out there, even though Breakfast Club is more of a YouTube channel and radio station type of
Yeah.
ordeal. But
But
we've
the
just
way-
been,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, the way they do their interviews is, yeah, we're big fans.
they like organic with it. And
Yeah, shout out to Breakfast Club.
granted, since we are, you know, we like to joke around and throw memes in the
Yeah, they got the
podcast
classic ones.
and just so much stuff. It was just like, you know what, let's do it. And with this introduction, we just figured, why not just tell the people a little bit about ourselves?
And, that's where I was going. I was gonna ask you, unless you want to pass it out to
No, go for
Jazz
it.
first, but I feel like the listeners would want to know a little bit about you, a little background check on how, being that you are from New Orleans, how'd you get out to California?
So I'm originally from New Orleans, born and raised. Lived in New Orleans since I was 21.
Shout out to NO
Shout out New Orleans, 504 Tell a Me Show.
to the meat show.
But basically, I got an opportunity, which most people in New Orleans don't get an opportunity to move elsewhere. I mean, New Orleans is a great city for so much things, you know, the food, the history, the music, everything. But
The music for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
the music.
yeah.
But I got an opportunity, and I was like, okay, I'm coming to California.
What was the opportunity?
Fresno Grizzlies. Shout out to Grizzlies.
Hey.
Hey, they basically took me in, and it was nothing but love since day one. But it was interesting because born and raised in New Orleans, only been out, you know, the furthest I have been was Houston, San Antonio, Memphis, Atlanta, Florida.
Yeah.
Basically, I was in the South. never really experienced anything outside of the South.
Did you ever want to make your way out to California? Like, is that like a vision you had?
It wasn't even a thought.
Thought.
It wasn't even a dream. It just
Got you.
it basically. I came out here, interviewed. Literally before I left, they was like, "Hey, we want you. You're a part of our team. What'd you say?" And I was like, "Let me go talk to the lawyers and whatnot, and for everything." Hey, I was a 21-year-old. I didn't know much. So
how long was that process? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, like from when you applied to when you got it and you moved out here.
I applied. The crazy thing is, I applied for another job right before in Tulsa. Didn't get that job. 2 weeks later, Grizzly's like, "Hey, we want you to come interview." Came out here, interviewed probably 2 weeks after they wanted me to come out. And then right before I left, that was around end of June. And they basically offered me a contract. I went back home.
Packed up,
loaded everything up in my car at the time.
That's right.
And drove basically 2 days.
You drove you drove from New Orleans out to
from
Fresno?
New Orleans all the way basically to Costa Mesa.
Damn.
We stayed the night, me, my mom, and my auntie. Then I got them plane tickets out of LAX. They flew back, and I continued to drive.
Damn.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, California knows how to party." Hey, seeing
did
all
you at
the
least
palm
play
trees.
that song when you came in?
No, I didn't play that.
Why not though?
But,
I mean, if I was to land in New Orleans, I would have played some old ass No Limit song. Like, this is the soundtrack to New Orleans.
I was just like, man, I'm out of New Orleans. I got palm trees, I got beaches, I got cool weather.
So
Little did I know it, that drive kept going.
I was about to ask. So once you landed in LA, your mom and aunt took off from LA, caught LAX, took off, and you drove from LA to the Central California.
When did it hit me?
What was your thought when
you rolled up
when you got to Fresno?
First I was like, where the hell are the palm trees go? I'm literally looking around like, that was just like hundreds of palm trees, and next thing you know, I'm on the freeway. You see that, you notice
that farm grown thing.
Yeah, I was like, where the rest of the city at?
Yeah.
Now I think actually when I was coming through, I want to say Bakersfield area, that's when it really hit me. I'm like, where the hell everything at?
Yeah.
And then I made it out here. So
I've seen the valley.
It's been cool. It's been a great blessing, really, just for that opportunity.
That's dope.
To be out here in California.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I remember when I met you. I want to say I met you at Salador.
Definitely at the Salador.
With D Soto. Shout out D Soto.
Yep.
And you said you worked for the Grizz. At the time, I was just a fan, and
I was like, who's this bald head kid?
Yeah, man. Because I was like, what, like.
I would say 2012.
2012.
It had to be 11 or 12.
Yeah, we were out there at Salador doing the nightlife thing. Shout out Ren, shout out Ski.
I was a wild child back then, just going everywhere.
This guy was out there loving Vice City, and so I think that's how the conversation started. And then after that, we started seeing each other a little more.
Yep. But yeah, no, it's been great. I moved out here for the opportunity. Most people don't get opportunities to move to a different state. And I just took just took advantage of it.
And man, you've been out here ever since, and it's been
8 years.
What, 8 years?
8 years.
That's dope, man.
It's crazy. Time is just flying.
That's dope.
What about you, Jazz? Tell me your story.
My story. So I mean, I'm from the area. Grew up in a small town just south of here in Selma, and it's funny because I left the same time that Troy got here.
Man, way to make me feel old, and I'm not even that old.
Graduating high school. So I went out of state for school and stuff. Went up to north, so I went to Washington State. Did my whole thing there, college. Moved around a couple times, and then most recently, so almost a year ago now, that I've been with the Grizz. But I was looking to come back home to California. I'd been out of the state for so long, and so I just want to be near family.
Were you homesick?
I wouldn't say I was homesick. I just think I felt like I was missing out on a lot of things that were happening with family. I mean, people having kids, all my cousins growing up. And so I just thought, like, you know what? Maybe I should just go home for a bit. Not to say that I'm going to be here forever. I have a feeling I'm probably just going to move out of the state again. But you never know. And so I was just like, let me call up a couple of people that I know and see what's open. And it's funny because my boss now, he actually worked with me when I was working with the Diamondbacks.
Shout out Jason.
Yes, shout out Jason.
Handles.
Absolutely a blessing, and I'm forever grateful. So I call him up, and I was chatting with him. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And he was like, of course I do. Like, you sat right in front of me. I was like, awesome. Plus, we were the only people from Fresno that lived in Arizona and worked with the Diamondbacks. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm looking to come back home. Do you have any openings? I didn't see anything online. And he was just like, no, but we'll hire you. Yeah. And I was like, sweet. So what am I going to do?
You got lucky.
Yeah, I got real lucky. It was really like the people you know.
Yeah, it is what it is. So you know, and I'm sure he he knew that you were a hardworking person. Or something.
He knew what I had done with the Diamondbacks, luckily, and so he was there long enough to see kind of that, and also knew like the work ethic that needed to be put in to work for that team. And so, I mean, that was really awesome. And I asked him, I was like, so what am I going to be doing? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
That's
so
right.
for about...
No, yeah. And then I remember, I mean, I was with Troy.
You started around
I started on Taco Truck
She
Throwdown.
started Taco Truck Throwdown. I remember we're in the team store when Janet brought her out to she was meeting her. Yeah.
I was like, who's that curly haired girl? Like, hi, I'm Jasmine.
So like, yo, you starting on Taco Truck Throwdown? Like, all right,
we gonna see what you made of.
But that's
really
dope though. Like,
that bad.
I feel like the Grizz, we've been doing that because so Jazz started on Taco Truck Throwdown, was hectic, and so did Jamie. He started in a day like that, on a day like that.
Another crazy event that we had.
But that's dope. What other states do you?
So I lived in Washington. I lived in a small ass town called Pullman, but it's so funny because the campus is huge, but the town itself is really small, just like Selma. From there, I moved to Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska.
Shout out the what is it?
Corn
The Huskers.
No.
The Corn Huskers.
Corn
Is that the
everywhere.
rivals?
It wasn't exactly the rivals, but for my job, I worked for a D2 school, like about 2 hours away. And so when it came to Saturday football games, it was either our team,
or
which
Lincoln.
again, a Division II school, or people would go over and watch watch Nebraska, and it was rough to kind of compete with, but I mean that gave me a real vision of like how people saw college football, because up in Washington, here in Fresno, like it's not the same as Central, Midwest, or even the South.
In what way? What do you?
People are diehard, like they live and breathe college football.
They don't got nothing to do out there. That's why.
That's true. And it's funny because someone had told me this, and I always remember the joke. But when you're in small towns just like Nebraska, on one side of the tracks there are the churches, on the other side there are the bars. You're there one night and you head over the next morning. And so it kind of feels like that.
Choose wisely.
And so, but I mean, I really like Nebraska. Probably the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I was a little worried because I've never been that far from home, but I lived out there for a year, and it was awesome, except for the humidity and then like the freezing rain. That was something
You'd
new.
rather deal with the Fresno heat than
I'd rather do with Arizona heat. So after Nebraska, I went to Arizona.
See, Arizona seems scary to me. Like it just
Scary for
Like
what?
what
I don't
about
know, just
monsoon,
scary
whatever.
of
What
the
they,
heat?
what they
no,
get
just
out
the
there?
heat. Like
Arizona.
you
So-
hear how Arizona's like just
hot.
hot, and like God, I could barely
See,
handle
but
it.
I like
know they
lived
got
in
water,
Washington
right?
with the snow,
Hey, man.
and I was
Mexican,
completely
not all
done
Mexicans
with
can
that.
swim.
Oh, noted.
Noted.
And so when I moved to Arizona, I moved, what was it? It was like in May, so it was hot. I remember the day I moved in, it was 114. And I like the dry heat. Like the hottest day I think was for a couple days, and it was 120. I mean, but you're inside, you have air conditioning. I was so fortunate that the apartment I lived in, the electricity bill was included in the rent, because if not, I would not be running that thing on 60.
That'd be crazy.
And so I like the heat. I like the dry heat. It's a lot different than it is in Fresno. Like it gets hot here. It gets 113, 112 every now and then. But that's the hottest. But you don't deal with the fires that happen. So the air's a lot cleaner. For me, like I prefer that. And so, I mean, Arizona, I could see myself moving back there because I loved it so much. And that was the biggest city I ever lived in. I lived in just outside of Phoenix.
Nice.
And so I thought it was going to be a very drastic change going from small town to small town to small town to city. And it actually really wasn't that bad.
And what was one thing that you loved? It could be anything.
I think there was always something to do and something different to do. So, like, you can go out to a different bar. There were college bars. There were, like, clubs. And because, I mean, you're near Tempe, which is the town that Arizona State University is at. So you have your college bars. And then you have Scottsdale, which is where all the retirees, where people go for spring training and people vacation there. So you got a little bit more of the upper class places to go to. And then Phoenix was really just kind of a mixture of things. I didn't hang out too often there just because, I mean, if I got drunk, I would have to Uber home. So it was usually try to stay closer to home. And so every now and then I would. And those bars were more of, or like that kind of stuff was more modern. So everything was more social, casual and stuff. Nothing like the other two. But besides that, like, it was really cool. Weekends, Saturday mornings, you can go out, go on a hike. I found like a very nice liking to that. And so, but you had to go really early.
To the bar?
Because, to go
Hiking
hike.
that.
Because if you hiked like at 8 in the morning,
Oh,
it's
to
probably
hike.
going to be like
I'm always thinking
100.
about the bars.
Nah.
Like the bars.
Sometimes that's
Yeah.
hike. But now, like, if you're looking for something to do outside,
I've never been
you
hiking.
have all that. You're
Me
not
either.
far from the Grand Canyon.
You know that?
Nope.
No.
Hey,
just
man,
talk-
I
was just
barely
talking to
started. I went camping one time.
But you went with your sister, didn't you? And
We didn't go hiking.
what you go do?
We drove all the way up there. What you talking
Yes, you went
about?
hiking with all your stuff, your
Wait.
tent.
No,
Disclaimer.
I remember. All I seen was a photo of you and your
Yeah,
sister
they look like we done
sitting
hiked
up there.
the highest mountain, like Mount Everest style. Nah, bro.
This guy did it for the gram and
He talking
drove
about
us
when
out
we
back
went
down to the valley.
We went to Half Dome or El Capitan, whatever it's called, one of the
Okay,
two. But you could drive like basically all the way up. It's just
Crazy.
windy.
See,
And
that's
we
probably what I
parked.
would do. Pull over and just walk
Yep.
a couple of steps.
See, like, I didn't do massive hikes. It wasn't like 5-mile hikes. My
See, that's what
farthest
I've been
hike was
thinking.
probably
That's what you picture
Nah.
when you picture people. Oh, let's go on a hike, especially Esteban. He's
So
always trying to get me.
You're so
Let's
rough.
go on a hike. Nah, bro, I'm not trying to die today.
Nah, so like the places that I would go to weren't that high. Like, it was probably about a total of 3 miles. I think the farthest one I did was like 3.6. And really,
That means 3 up and 3 down.
no. It was like part ways, like a mile and a half up and a mile and a half
Oh,
down.
okay.
So
I was about to
it
say.
tells you the route that you have to go, and it'll tell you how many miles. I mean, I didn't do anything more than that. But the place I'd go to, because the way that Phoenix is, it's a valley, so very similar to Fresno, except what's above us are just these mini mountains everywhere. And so, like, everywhere I hiked, I could always see Chase Field, which is where I worked at. So it just kind of was
Beautiful
really cool.
stadium, by the way.
Yes.
And speaking of stadiums, Dorian, how did you become a member of the Grizzlies and started working for us? Give us a little backstory on who is Cuddie.
Cuddie. I'm originally from here on, small town in Fresno County. I started with the Grizz. Well, I mean, I've always been an artist, so I've always been into drawing, illustrating, photography, all that. So with that, I remember. I would take it back to MySpace. If we're going to talk about like the Grizz, like so on
He was decoding stuff.
back
before.
yeah, back in the MySpace days, I used to design or lay out the MySpace profiles for local artists or just anyone that wanted to look important.
That's crazy. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
That's
you're
crazy
good.
to even think that we were literally like,
MySpace
we'll go
was
find
the
a
ish.
URL and whatever else.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was.
Just the HTML
I
codes
remember
and
I
all that.
had Soldier Slim as at my one of my backdrops.
That's
once
funny.
upon a time.
See, so I used
had
to
Michael Jordan. Dude, that's crazy.
I used to find those because there used to be a lot of those websites where you could just get the backgrounds, and I knew that you could change the just the JPEG, so I would copy like the whole layout of those websites or whatever, and then I'll just slide in my background, my banner or the contact table and all that, and I'll make it look like a little website for your artists or whatever. So I used to do all that, and then I would
For like rappers. And
for
stuff, right?
for local artists around here or just anyone. I mean, we had dudes like Stunna that would even back
Shout
then.
out to
Shout out
Stunna.
Stunna. Like he said, he always presented himself in a certain way. So he would hit me up, yo, can you snap some photos? Can you lay out my profile, whatever? So I would do all that, and in the process of that, like I would do like little small runs of T-shirts and all that, and
So you was a hustler, is what you said.
bro, whatever it took, we're
Gotta
getting
get that
that.
money.
So it was just, I mean, it was just being artistic, but at the same time, I would put, a couple of bucks in my pocket, and then I ended up at FTK out here in Fresno back when I was on Blackstone, and I met this dude Sam Hansen that we just started.
Shout out to Sam,
shout out
aka
Sam.
Shamrock.
And from there, I remember him just keeping in contact with me in a way. And a couple of years later, he reached out and said they needed some help with some artwork for the Grizz, and so I helped out. I think it was like a farm grown character. It was the farm grown ball. We created him into a character, and it never came out or nothing.
Wait. No, I thought it.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
When
That still
was
exists.
the Juneteenth font? I thought, was that a little bit before that? I don't remember.
Juneteenth.
Yeah,
I didn't do no Juneteenth.
you did that script. I remember
I
that
did
old
it.
school F.
Oh yeah.
Was that?
Yeah. So
Around
this
the
this
same
was a little
time?
later. This so I started with this was I was still living in Huron at this time. I remember he sent me a text. This was like 2013. He sent me a text. Hey, are you up for like a little Grizzly artwork or whatever? And so he told me what it was. He told me the concept. I've always been a fan of the whole farm grown thing. Just I mean being from Huron, and I mean shoot, I worked out in fields during summer breaks and all that. So I was always a fan of it. So I did the farm grown ball into a little character, give him a little body, eyes, and everything. And we never used it.
Yeah.
You could have. We gonna have to edit this.
That's okay.
That's all good.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
wait. Is it working now?
yeah.
Oh, we're good.
take
Go
two.
for it.
So yeah, we created this character, and from there we just stayed in contact. And then a little later, they came up with this whole taco truck. I mean, they've had the taco truck throwdown thing. So 2015, they decided to play as the Fresno Tacos.
It was like during that time before you were on the inside.
Yeah.
What year you started with the Grizz? That's
2015.
2015. Dude, so when I first got here, Sam took me to a taco truck, and I was like,
Yeah.
bruh,
What is this?
the only tacos I'm used to is fucking
Talk about.
Taco Bell.
Of course.
give me that.
Well,
crunchy
y'all got,
taco.
It's the same.
y'all got tacos in New Orleans?
I'm sure they got tacos now, real tacos now, but
No.
back in the day, only tacos that people knew was basically Taco Bell.
Yeah. So no, but like back to it. I mean, I've always and even with that, I feel like even I was a fan of the Grizz, not so much of the baseball team, but just the marketing, the branding, and all that. So I would and I think that too, like it took a part in it because I would either network and be at different little concerts around the city, or I would go to FTK and I would come to the team store or whatever. So it just put me in the loop. And then that's when Sam reached out. He knew that what I was doing, and he said that he hit me up and mentioned the whole taco truck throwdown thing, the whole Fresno Tacos. He called me and said, "Hey man, we're gonna play as the Fresno Tacos." At the time, I was thinking they were gonna change the name, like period. I was
He was
kind
like,
of
"No."
I'm like, nah, man. Like I love
He
the
wasn't
Grizz.
ready.
But then they broke it down. They're like, okay, this is the alter ego, and all this. So I was by then I had moved out to Fresno, and I illustrated the thing in my apartment and emailed it to them. They loved it, brought me into the office, and this was still like we hadn't showed it because this was like the beginning of, I think it was late 2014.
I remember.
And the talk truck throwdown wasn't going to be till 2015. So in between that, I would come out to the office and just help them out with lettering for the jerseys and all this. So once the taco
So you
truck
basically
throwdown,
was working for free. That's
I
what
was
happened.
I was working for some free merch.
Free
So
merch.
we
out
were
to
doing some
Leilani.
trading. Shout out Leilani. They just grab whatever you need, because I mean whatever money I was getting, I was spending in the damn team store.
Makes
So
sense.
it made sense. I would make my way to the stadium, show up to the office, met Andy, Nick Haas, and everybody, and Ryan Young. So from there we just it became a thing, and I started coming more often. By the time the taco truck throwdown came about, that got me the full-time job.
So it's super funny. Because I didn't know that you created it until like someone else months later after it started had told me that, or I think you were telling the story to someone else.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I remember when it first got released, I was in Washington, but my friends knew where I was from.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends also followed baseball. And so it was really cool because I had a couple people like come
Like
up to me
Ancient
and they're
from
like,
Fresno?
yeah, they're like, yo, what's up with like the Fresno tacos? Like, why are you guys
Damn,
going
there's
after
a whole
food?
taco on the hat.
And they're showing me all this stuff, and they're just like, dude, this is actually like pretty legit.
Yeah.
And that for me that was like really cool. I'm like, hey, like super proud that being all the like 2 states up, people are recognizing this AAA team that I grew up with as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I found out that it was you that created. I was like, that's really cool, because I remember my first memory of seeing that logo and being super proud that was home.
That's dope. Yeah, man. Once the hat released and everything, like, it went crazy. What it sell like all 50 states and
All 50 states. I don't know even remember how many countries.
Yeah. So
So
that thing went wild. Like,
Just let me know that people love tacos, and people in Louisiana has been living inside of a rock. Because, I mean, maybe it's just because we eat a lot of seafood, but I was like, tacos.
Yeah, man. But that's a Central California thing. We got taco trucks in every corner out here. You know what I mean? So
You ain't learned about that.
it was a
You ain't
thing.
never gonna go hungry.
Yeah.
Right, Hall? Them shrimp tacos.
Shout out Hall behind the camera.
We
over
got
there.
Hall
Shout
out behind the
Fallon.
camera. He helping us out because we suck.
Because our camera sucks.
Right. What so you saying you being from Huron?
Yeah.
You mentioned some New Orleans references.
Yeah.
How did that even like come about? Like what made you? People who live in New Orleans, for the most part, we live in our own bubble. So I figured other people live in their own bubble as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, man. I mean,
somebody from Huron, California, I don't know how many the population
it's small.
was in tune with New
Music.
Orleans culture.
Music, man. Shout out music. Shout out rap, hip hop, and everything. I mean, through music, I feel like I learned about different cities, different states, and back in 96, 97, 98, I was just hella into No Limit. No Limit Records. C Murder was my favorite No Limit artist, and
Oh, y'all heard of me. See murder.
and so I was like into Mystical, Masterpiece, Silk, TRU, everything.
Man,
so,
right, Chip. Yeah,
all
man,
that.
was. I remember being a little.
Did
kid,
I do
just
that?
Like bumping all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
so I mean, just listening to No Limit albums, it was just like I always had a love for New Orleans, and like even till this day, I still haven't made my way out there, and it's like, man, I gotta go out there. But now one of my best friends, co-workers, is from New Orleans, so we gonna make that
I
happen.
gotta take his ass to New Orleans. He
Yeah.
been wanting to go. He was like, "Hey, bro, can we go chill in the third ward a little bit?" I'm like, "Bro,
Go to the CP3.
But when you go, you cannot complain how hot it is. You just gotta
Yeah.
take it as
I'm
it is.
preparing for that. Like I said, I'm just gonna show up in a white tee, a soldier rag around my neck.
Nah, we
we
I'm
going
take you
to-
to the corner store. We go buy a fresh white tee for $5. I'm gonna buy you a soldier rag so you could put that thing on right there.
But then we have to go iron this thing, and
Nah. Bro,
Oh
we
my
don't do that.
gosh.
We go to the corner store. Let me get that fresh white tee. You open that pack. You put it on. You pay the man $5. I think it's $6 now because they didn't went up.
it don't went up. But yeah, man, that's how I knew, like, started learning about New Orleans and all that, and like New Orleans, Houston, Chicago, New York. It's like these certain cities of artists that I'm a fan of, and I've always been curious to go check them out. But
There's so much out. I've been fortunate enough to have been in New Orleans, obviously, and I visited Chicago, which, dude, Chicago is an amazing city. I love Chicago. People always, talk about the bad in Chicago, but there's a lot to do in Chicago just in general, and there's a lot.
Yeah, I
of
can
good
see it. It's
going
just
on.
wherever you're at.
People always say that. I'm like, every place has a bad spot. It's
Every
just
place
like
have a hood. Every place have a
city.
bad spot. It's just what you make of it.
Exactly.
Like people, talk down on Fresno at times. I think we all love Fresno, and it's what you make of it.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is. How about we let the listeners know like what we have in store for this podcast. I mean, this is more of the introduction, so it's a bunch of rambling and just kind of just touching bases on our little backgrounds and what we
so
what we do,
we've been blessed to have great relationships with people in our community, whether it's restaurants to business owners of whatever type to politicians, literally all over the place. Basically, key figures in our community. So when Cuddie mentioned this podcast, I was like,
this guy started thinking outside of the box. Where
who, me?
Yeah.
I was like, why just talk about
I was just thinking of just
everyday life. I'm like,
I was thinking of more on the lines of honestly, and even this last time when I talked about it, like, yo, I didn't want to see it as a podcast. I was like, yo, we're just recording conversations. So, because I was just thinking about like, yo, if we leave our hop and like, man, let's go record this. Like we're leaving work, yo, let's talk about this. These are the things that I had in mind, and Troy like, out here went like, no, we're gonna interview such and such, and this is what we're gonna do, and like, why just keep it at hip hop and art and all this? Like, we're talking.
I was like, look, yo,
which is dope though, because had it been up to me, like we would have just got stuck in
with our conversations that we have every day.
Just stories, but I like because that's what I like, But
like I say, how it even started was I was like, I'll buy a mic, you buy a mic. I bought the mic. He was like, all right, come on, let me buy the mic. And we was just bucked up. Like, literally, like, oh, snap, the mic's coming in tomorrow. So that's when I started thinking. I was like, why are we just going to be recording, just the everyday, basically, conversations that we have or, text messages.
Which
memes.
is not bad.
And I was like, you know what? Let's go all the way out there. We got connections to where we know people in certain places. So why not hear about their stories? And that's one thing that I definitely wanted to know, do my research on, and
that's gonna make it
basically.
That's gonna make it fun and interesting. It'll keep people entertained to where we do have those plugs, those connections with, like you said, just from DJs to artists to politicians to someone that owns a taco truck, just to get their background and just motivate people. That's what I want to focus. At least me, I want to. Like, those are going to be my questions to where, like, how did you get this started? How did you, how did you get the ball rolling? Because I like to hear those stories. I like to hear, like, the humbling, just upbringing and like, motivate people. Because a lot of listeners might need that little kick to get them going.
I definitely feel you. Because, like, even what you're saying, like, motivation and how people basically started, like, you got to realize, I think I was 18, fresh out of high school. I was in barber school, and I was working for the Hornets at the time, the New Orleans Hornets. Doing promotions. I was basically the people that just laughing at.
Get the microphone closer to you.
No, they can hear me. I don't have to get super loud. But basically, I started off as a promo team member. I was the guy that was throwing T-shirts. I was getting the fans pumped up. I was basically the G-Force. I'm gonna shout out our Buzz Patrol. That was our names in New Orleans.
Shout out the Buzz Patrol.
It was. I definitely worked my way up. 3 years with the Hornets, and like I said, once that opportunity came with the Grizzlies, I was like, ain't no turning back. We going. So it was an opportunity, and people definitely could see, motivation. Even like I was talking to my friend the other day, she was saying, man, like I envy you because one, you up and moved, like you got an opportunity and you was gone. Man,
it's seeing that opportunity and taking advantage of it, man. And I always say, like, the only thing like you could ask for is like opportunity. Because like some people see the opportunity, they don't take it. Like they have talent, but they don't.
They get
You know,
scared. They don't run towards.
Or they just don't see it, man. And like that's what I'm big on. Like, man,
Who you telling? I had to
No, and
convince, it took Hall a year. I told Hall I met this black guy. Let me say I was at a
hey, hold on,
party.
man. You ain't gonna throw him under the bus right now.
He
He's
gonna
over
be
here taking care of
in front of
things.
the camera too. I'm gonna throw him under the bus a little bit. No, but I tell everybody the story. Obviously, I work for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That guy would be good.
Hold on. That might be a good one for when he gets in front of the camera, because I'm still curious to know how you guys came about, and now I see it.
I've never asked that question either.
I'll give a little bit.
We're gonna hold off on that one.
Wait, let me give a little bit.
No, yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. I'm not gonna go into details, but basically, I was trying to convince this guy for a year to
jump
join
on
the
board?
squad, and he just was like, "Nah, I ain't having it." And he basically denied.
Well, you
So-
sliding on DM?
I did slide in the DM.
That's right.
No
and
homo.
we gonna leave it at
No
that.
homo. I slid in the
That's
DMs.
gonna be a good one,
It was
huh?
on Facebook actually. I remember it.
That's right. No, that's
But yeah,
dope.
no,
Yo,
like,
but
when you
that's
get an
networking though.
opportunity-
Like that's what's dope nowadays, where social media, like, and I mean, shout out social media, because that's kind of how I got my my little shot. I mean, not just social media, but I used to be out at these events, but it's just networking. But because of social media, I was able to display my artwork. And but yo, man, just networking, grinding, and opportunities come, take that.
Hey, I feel you on that. When the
know.
opportunities come, take that. I'm just curious where we at, because I can't see. I don't got my glasses on.
We all have 41.
Oh,
we
we at
got
40. We not bad. I thought we was like way over. But yeah, not just in general. I see Fresno as, you know, a good place. Not just to start, but some people even finish here. I mean,
yeah.
downtown is steadily growing and building.
Shout out downtown. You got the downtown.
Shout out
Downtown
to
Fresno
the
shit.
downtown Fresno partnership. Y'all didn't give me a discount, but I'm still shouting y'all out.
Come
But
on,
no,
talk
just
to
in
Vic.
general, like there's so much potential in this city, and it's crazy because like when it was the Fulton Mall, I was like, why is this not even open?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So much potential. It reminded me of basically a mini like.
Yo, but I
Canal
mean,
Street,
but I
Bourbon
remember
Street.
like growing up, because I mean, being from here on, we would come out to Fresno to come out of to the Fulton Mall. My parents would go to the fish market. What is it?
Central Fish.
Central Fish, and like these little things down here. And
You wouldn't even like seafood.
I don't, but my parents did. So we would come out to the Fulton Mall, and it being closed, it was always cool though. I feel like back then it was live. You would be able to walk through there, and Cinco de Mayo, all these certain days they would have events, and it was cool. I mean, I love it now that you could drive through there, you know. But
There's still a lot of people walking through it, and I think that's because.
and it's gonna grow. I mean, tomorrow being Art Hop, I mean, it gets live, and I feel like that's
It's
a
gonna be
good start
hot.
of that.
Y'all better drink y'all water, y'all whatever y'all sipping on.
Yeah,
Sam
and, I
will
mean,
be
speaking
down.
of Art Hop, tomorrow we have Sam, young Baby Dave, and
Baby Dave, I gave him that nickname.
Master Chef. They got an event going on tomorrow.
Yeah, what is that? That positive energy.
Positive
2.
Energy too. And it's gonna be at Cocky's. I mean, by the time we air this,
So you
it
about to
had
be
happened.
drinking that Henny?
Jeff?
I ain't gonna be there. I gotta work tomorrow night, so I don't know
So
what
we're
y'all
gonna
do.
be out there supporting the.
Yeah, we'll be out
we're
there
out there supporting the
I'll
boys,
be,
and
I'll be your DD afterwards. I'll come pick you up when you're all
All right,
out.
we're gonna be like, Jazz, we drunk. We
I'll put some
we drank
bags
too much Henny.
in my car. So
no, yeah, we'll
you guys
definitely be
don't
out
throw
there
them in
supporting the peeps. I'm sure Fallon will probably be out there enjoying some Hennessy. Yeah, man, it's a good event. Last year we were out there. Last year it was
It was
it was live. We had a
we
good time.
live, baby. It was super live.
Super live. Shout out Kid Rich. He was out there mixing, and even owner Mike from Cocky's was out there doing his dance.
He was. Hey,
Shout out
he had a real
Cocky's,
nigga
man.
moment. I'm just say that.
It was a good moment. But yeah, man, any event by FTK and or downtown events, we're out there supporting.
Definitely. And the more I think about it, the more I realize it's gonna be pretty crazy tomorrow.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good. School's out for the summer, basically. So
Oh yeah.
come on out downtown.
Yeah, because I
Fresno.
mean, yeah, downtown Fresno. I mean, because when the weather's cold, like, or we're dealing with rain, not a lot of people come out. So I feel like this is gonna be a good art hop.
That's
Get it
right.
going.
That's
I
right.
mean,
So
we just step out of our doors down here and we end it. We're just in the heart of downtown, so it's gonna
There's
be
Yeah.
the support.
So this is our podcast, the Say Bro podcast. Granted, we're gonna have Jazz won't be here all the time, but we'll have somebody a lovely young lady to fill in.
Yeah, we're always gonna
give us another perspective.
That's the plan. We'll be rotating. Jazz will definitely be one of the regulars, and always try to switch up our female friends just to get a woman's perspective on things and their input. But we're definitely gonna keep this going.
Oh yeah, and then we go shout out once again, Haul Out and Fallon. We appreciate you guys for helping us with this first episode, but we can't close out without the
quote
shout
of
out
the
to Sam Hansen. I stole this
shout out
from him.
to the marketing team and at the Grizzlies.
This
and
the Grizzlies marketing team. So I'm gonna put.
I feel like can we get this being the first episode? We should break down how this came about.
Yeah. So basically, in our marketing.
So we have marketing meetings every Monday at the stadium, and at the end of the
3:30 if y'all want to join, or is it 3:00? No.
Yeah. At the end of the meeting, Sam
give us a quote.
He'll give us a quote of the day, and whoever's the guest or whoever, we'll have them read the quote. So it being Hall.
It's gonna be Hall.
Here.
Hall got to read the quote. One, come from behind the camera so people can see who you are. Yeah, put your shades on. He's doing all this little,
your fake glasses.
He bumping the camera and everything, looking like Will Smith. It's your boy. Hey, bro, you good?
I feel like the other side would have been better. Yeah, I just think the camera.
Hey, just by the way, we gonna have Haul Out on the episode, and we gonna get all the tea. I'm gonna get the real, cause I got some questions already in mind to ask him. Hey, bro, stop flexing. It's all right. You can save that for the episode you're on. Maybe the next episode you can be on.
I'm ready for the same.
All right, so I'm gonna show you the quote, and here's how I go. You gotta tell me who said this quote. It could be anybody in the world, literally. All right.
He get it.
So read the quote. Read the quote, and then tell me who it's from. Go for it.
Success is never owned; it is rented, and the rent is due every day. I don't know.
Give me
Just
somebody.
give somebody who would say that.
Friday.
Mr. Jackson.
There you go. Pops from
Mr.
Friday
Jones.
said that. Hey,
Was I right?
it doesn't matter. You're never wrong, my brother.
That's
right. It's your boy, Hotboy Troy.
Cuddie.
Yes.
It's Jazz. It is Cuddie. We out this thing. This is the Say Bro Podcast, episode 1. Thanks for tuning in.
Say, bro, it's the podcast.